Hello and welcome to News Central TV. I'm Darshan Usman. Top stories at this hour. 87 feared kidnapped in fresh attack on Kaduna community. South Africa police arrest suspect behind blue light robberies. Kenyan authorities to go tough on people who disrupt President Ruto's rally. Details shortly. We begin the news in West Africa, where terrorists have reportedly kidnapped 87 people in a fresh attack on the Kajuru Station community in Kajuru local government area of Kaduna State. The bandits were said to have looted some shops and houses located in the community. The attack occurred on Sunday night, just a day after 14 people were kidnapped by bandits in Dogo Noma community, also within Kajuru local government. Police authorities in Kaduna State are yet to confirm the latest attack. However, the chairman of Kajuru local government area, Ibrahim Gajere, said that bandits invaded Kajuru Station community at about 9 p.m. on Sunday night and took away many residents. He lamented that the constant attacks on Kajuru have left many residents in fear and panic. Following the killings of soldiers and civilians in Okwama community in Ughelli South local government area of Delta State, South Nigeria, the state governor, Sheriff Oborewari, has visited the 63 Brigade base in Bomadi, perhaps to get first-hand information about the clash. The commander, 63 Brigade, Asaba Brigadier General Ugochukwu Unachukwu, alongside other military senior commanders and the State Commissioner of Police, had a closed session with the governor at the Bomadi jetty. Meanwhile, there are heavy armed military personnel on the ground, water and air, mountain surveillance over the area. Now to discuss this, I'm joined by security expert and executive director, Elixir Trust Foundation, Emmanuel Ikule. Hello, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for joining me at this time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now, can you share your thoughts on the ongoing incident in Ughelli South? There seems to be conflicting reports about what really happened, with the army stating that security forces were sent to keep the peace between the two warring communities, while community members themselves accused the army of attacking residents.
It's a sad situation for our country, particularly for the soldiers that we lost at this time. Our condolences will always go to them for the good work they have been doing for the country. But in a situation like this, or in a crisis situation, there are different ways for community entry. And most times sometimes you try to bring out the leadership of the two communities, because there are reports saying that communities were at crossroads on land disputes. And I believe part of the issues, because I saw some comments from a part of the communities stating that the military, that they were the ones that knew the reason why they were going there, more like they were going there to represent a particular side of the community against the other. But these are still comments from people. But when you are an arbiter going to a crisis situation, you try to get people that are internally aware of those issues from both sides. Because if you relate only with one side, the other community certainly will be aware and will already take it that you have taken a stand against them. And such situations, they would reject you. That is one. The military on their own, so they on their own should have around how these things happen in certain areas. In a crisis situation, you don't just try to pick out more like you get an underground intel. There are police officers living in those areas. There are other security agencies living in those areas. You try to get the first-hand information about what is happening before having that interface. If you don't know and just enter into the community, you end up being ambushed. This has happened numerous times. So to prevent this from reoccurring, then there's always need to get personal information before entry, no matter the report you receive from anywhere.
Okay, now, Emmanuel, but at the moment, reports actually have it that things have escalated, as residents have actually fled the communities because some aggrieved, soldiers have taken over the area and reportedly set some houses ablaze in response to the killing of their colleagues, in as much as the army have actually refuted that claim. But, I don't know. I know you've actually been putting ears on the ground, but is there an element of truth in this? If yes, what is your reaction to, this particular, incident? That's the reprisal.
The army in our country have actually been, let me use the term, lawless. There are many times that there have been reports like this, and they always carry out reprisal attacks. We can talk about Konshisha in Benue State. When they claim that one or two that their vehicle was attacked, what happens? They went down and burnt Konshisha local government in Benue. Similar thing happened in Okum local government.
Okay. So you're stating that the army did carry out a reprisal on the community.
What I'm saying, yes, because that has been their way of reacting. And most times, their reaction most times they are not being punished for carrying out reprisal attacks. There are laws. And as law enforcement officers like them, they are also bound by laws to also obey it. If you go into the community and found some people wanting or for crimes they have committed, you can arrest them and let the court decide what punishment is meant for them. But most times they go into such committees and they equally even murder people. This has happened numerous times. And in different states, this has happened not once, not twice, not 3 times. So it's sad because sometimes issues that could easily be addressed in a simple way will escalate to something bigger. Now communities are scared of the military. Normally, should communities be afraid that the military is coming to them? They should feel safeguarded because the military, that is what they exist to do, to protect lives. So, but if they have become predators now and to the fact that the entire community is running away, then means actually we're in a crisis situation.
All right, Emmanuel,
not just between the communities.
All right, now speaking about the communities being afraid of the army, what immediate actions would you say should have been taken by the government, the army, relevant stakeholders like the local authorities, community leaders, even the security committee in those villages to address the tragic loss of lives, as soon as it happened? What should have been done?
The first thing now, based on the situation we have on ground now, the military should, already they are on ground, but they shouldn't take any negative actions against anybody. If they are able to get the criminals on ground, good and fine, let the court take its course, which is fine. Every criminal should be brought to book, that is fine. But they shouldn't take laws into their hands. Secondly, the government ought to call the communities involved, those stakeholders involved in those communities, from the youth leaders, from the local security agency, maybe the vigilante groups on ground. They also need to relate with the chiefs. And there are also some, maybe Ijaw leadership and all those different communities on ground. The Oklobia community heads and all those chiefs in those areas, the women leaders and all that. Bring them together in a neutral ground and have a talk with these persons. They on their own will bring out those issues, because sometimes we go into areas based on assumption of issues we actually don't have details. So if the communities are being called, they will be able to give out those details why there are crises in that situation, and also even give solutions on how those crises can be addressed in their area. And when both parties are on ground, it's easier to get to the root of it and even provide solutions. And these members are the ones that will feel more at home going back to go and talk to their own members also, or their community members, to also calm down the situation. But if the military decide to use force and just go into the community, or the government on their own, just like they are saying all over, just use force and go about, the only thing we'll end up discovering is abuse of human rights. More persons will just be arrested for crimes they didn't commit, just for the fun of getting some persons accountable for crimes they didn't commit, just to please some persons. So the best way is get the community leaders, have a meeting. They will also even profess solutions. And with this, and also see to it that those soldiers that we have lost at these times, at least their families are being compensated for the good work, I guess, they went there to do.
All right. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Ikule, for joining me and speaking on this. We appreciate you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, still talking security. Now we'll be going back to the story of insecurity in Kaduna State, where 87 people were feared kidnapped by bandits. And we actually have our correspondent who is live on ground to give us an update and shed more light on what really happened. Marvelous Obomanu joining us. Hello, Marvelous. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you go ahead and give us an update of, what really went on in Kajuru local government area and what is being done about, bringing back the residents that were kidnapped to their families?
Well, in as much as I am not a prophet of doom, but I'm not bringing you anything good news, but bad news. The situations here in Kaduna State is very there. That of hopelessness and, residents of Kuriga community are all, in pandemonium. They are in chaos. We just got back from that community about an hour ago, and I can confirm to you what we met on ground is more than what is being reported. This Kuriga community is about 2 hours from Kaduna town, and from Kaduna town to that community, I counted about 19 security checks, 19 security checkpoints there, and then 16 about of them are manned by military men, and then 3 of them by police officers, then in tandem with locals. When we got to that community, before that community, there is a community called Udawa community. It's about 35 kilometers to Kuriga community, where we have a military camp there. But as immediately we got to that place, our network ceased. We lost signal. So when we got to Kuriga community, the first thing that happened, as we highlighted, some of the residents within that school, as they spotted our car, they almost ran away. That is to tell you the palpable fear that has gripped residents of that community. So when we got down and then we started calling some of them that this is who we are, this is what we came to do, that was how when they started coming around, aggregating just to talk to us. And so we asked them, what is the situation on ground? They said that ever since that kidnap, they've not seen any security presence in that community. The last place we saw a security presence was about 35 kilometers away, about almost close to an hour to the village. That was the last place we saw a military checkpoint. And some of them said, as of yesterday, those bandits came again, kidnapped one of their villagers and injured another one. And this morning around 7 a.m., they saw some of those bandits around, coming around that area. So at some point, they all flee because they saw some military guys that were, giving shield to some guys coming to that community. They are expressing hopelessness that ever since that incident happened, they've not been able to sleep. They've not been able to go about their economic activities. Now, the school in question is sitting very close to the major road leading to that community. And all the paths surrounding that school are all bush paths. So it makes it easy for that school to be a target. It's just a few, residential houses close to that school, but every other thing in that school is open, sitting right at the center of a bush path. And then when we entered that school, some of the locals were showing us a footpath that the bandits took these students away from. And I can tell you that you can't even trace or locate them because the bush is very big. So the situation is very there. This Kachim local government is one of the worst hit local governments in Kaduna State. You heard a few years back, you saw the one that happened in Baptist High School. Primary school. So the situation is worse, and the residents, they are expressing hopelessness. They are saying that ever since this thing happened, at least the security ought to be trooping in and out of that place. And of course, you are aware that the bandit had called them and is demanding 1 billion naira ransom. And the federal government said they are not negotiating with the bandits. So if the parents cannot raise this huge amount of money, these children are left at the mercy of the bandits. So the situation is there.
Well, marvelous. It's quite a sad situation, I must say, and I understand when you say, that it's a situation of hopelessness at this moment. I seem to remember when the president, gave an order to the bandits to make sure that they, rescue the kidnapped victims of this particular community. But do you have an idea as to why there's no security presence in that area, considering that this just happened and the bandits actually came back for the second time, and a third time might actually be imminent as well?
Well, that sometimes when the government is government and matters of security like this, they might not tell you what they are doing. Probably they are there in a disguised manner, we don't know. But I can confirm to you, we didn't see any security from 30 kilometers away from that Kuriga community. The last place we saw security was at Udama community, which is almost an hour to Kuriga local government. So there might be security, we don't know, because sometimes security will not tell you what they are doing. Sometimes they are there in a disguised manner, we don't know. But the villagers are saying they are living in fear because they are not seeing any security presence. At least if there is a security presence there, it will reassure them that yes, a second time or a third time might not happen. But all of them are living in fear. In fact, 2 villages close to that Kuriga have been deserted. People have run away from that community. And government is saying they are not negotiating with the bandits. And this 1 billion naira to rescue 287 school children who are going to, you can't tell. Only God knows what these parents are passing through. Only God knows where these children is, what is their fate. Are they eating? Are they even alive or not? And we have not seen any active measure as regards what the president said, that the security should go and, fish these people out from their enclaves. And when this band is called, they say they are in far away northern Zamfara. So from this particular Kaduna to Zamfara, the distance these people told. Is it in the bush path they followed? They were in bike. I'm telling you, this is 287 human beings, not cows. So which way did they follow? Were they not seen?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Marvelous, for sharing that update with us. We'll definitely be getting more updates from you even as you're in Kaduna, and hopefully we'll be getting more updates on the security situation in Kajuru local government area as well. Thank you so much, Marvelous, and please do stay safe.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, News Central Now resumes. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, the proliferation of small arms and light weapons has continued to initiate and sustain armed conflict and pervasive crime globally. In this report, News Central's Austin Azu examines how this has worsened insecurity challenges in Nigeria.
While insurgency and banditry terrorize northern part of Nigeria, militants and unknown gunmen hold sway in the south. In Delta State, South Nigeria, the police say they have made the state uncomfortable for criminal-minded persons with this harvest of weapons and ammunition.
To continue to clamp down on these individuals, ensure that if you do not have the license, if you do not have the authority to deal or to trade in these things, you have no right being in possession of them.
In the meantime, the 63 Brigade of the Nigeria Army has discovered a weapons manufacturing factory in the forest of Olisho Nona in Anosha North local government area of the state and arrested 8 suspects involved in the family business.
Where we are now is an arms and ammunition, improvised explosive devices, and drones manufacturing factory for the enemy. We know in this axis it's only IPOB and Eastern Security Network that uses improvised explosive devices.
Imagine
and
a
even
healthcare
drones.
system.
We question those guys who be careful the quantum of weapon they are manufacturing, both for the insurgents and for armed robbers in Delta State. So these people here are major contributors to the insecurity, not just in Delta State, but even across southeastern Nigeria and neighboring states here.
The arms factory has a surveillance post, generating set connected from a remote location, an oven for melting of iron, and a cache of arms and ammunition. The prime suspect, a 22-year-old young man, admitted to have rented some of the arms to criminal elements for said fears.
I was front there before, sir. My daddy said I should leave his veranda because he's not comfortable with me being around his veranda. That was why I shifted to the side. I was front where that big generator was.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
This thing you're doing here, is it legal or illegal? Simple question.
It's illegal, man.
Some residents of the state are worried over the proliferation of these illicit small and light weapons in the hands of questionable individuals in the state and beyond.
First, there should be a general overhaul in our security chiefs.
You can't tell me that arms will just enter the country without the securities, the officials, the police, the armies knowing about that. So they already know, even if it's imported, how do they get into the country? So they know what they are doing, and they know where the arms are and where.
Security situation in the country has been identified as a contributor to the harsh economy. On the other hand, some people believe that some individuals take to crime as a means of survival. But what matters to many Nigerians is that citizens feel safe to live and engage in their legitimate activities in any part of the country. Realizing this has become a thought dream for a long time now. In Asaba for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
Still on security matters, the Middle Belt Patriots Group has urged state governors not to succumb to pressure from the federal government to cede lands to herders for grazing purposes. According to the group, yielding to such demand would worsen the security situation in the Middle Belt region and other parts of the country. President Bola Tinubu has urged governors to give parts of their land to Fulani herders for ruga or ranching purposes. The group, which further described the stance of the federal government on grazing land as provocative, said they reject the recent directive. It says capitulating to these demands and ceding more land for grazers will only fan the flames of the ethnic clashes, further the genocidal massacres, and escalate the violent displacement of indigents from their ancestral lands. Away from that, the Nigeria Labour Congress has said it is in support of the ongoing protest by the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions of the Senior Staff Association of Nigeria Universities. In a statement on Monday, the NLC president, Comrade Joe Ajero, said there had been no credible reason or explanation for withholding those salaries in the first place. Ajero said the withheld salaries had plunged the members into indescribable hardship. The NLC urged the government to pay up the outstanding salaries, advising not to take the maturity of unions for granted. Now to politics. The All Progressives Congress has settled for Dennis Idahosa as its deputy governorship candidate in the September 21st Edo governorship election. APC National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje and National Secretary Ajibola Bashiru are to present Monday Okpebolo, the party's flag bearer and his running mate, to President Bola Tinubu at the Villa. Idahosa is to replace Omorige Obeide Hama, who was announced by the governorship candidate last week as his running mate. Idahosa, a House of Representatives member, emerged on Sunday night after a prolonged meeting by stakeholders from Edo, the party leadership, and Vice President Kashim Shettima. A man impersonating as a medical doctor has been apprehended by the Nigerian Medical Association in Rivers State. The Anti-Quackery Committee of the NMA, Rivers State, led by Chairman Dr. Ebby Robinson, effected the arrest and detention of Mr. Michael Echi Igbo Michael. He is a graduate of Banking and Finance from the Cross Rivers State University of Technology, CRUTEC, and had been illegally practicing as a medical doctor for over 2 years in Rivers State. His crimes came to light when he applied for the NMA Rivers State ID card using falsified documents, including a fake MBBS certificate from the University of Port Harcourt and a fake Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria full registration certificate. And to further discuss this, I'm joined by Secretary, Nigerian Medical Association, Rivers State, Dr. Hope Avunda. Hello, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's nice to have you on the
Hope
news.
Avunda.
All right, now,
Yes.
according to the laws, what are the qualifications needed for one to be certified a medical doctor in Nigeria?
According to the Nigerian law, it will take a graduate who has studied medicine for a period of 6 years to be qualified to have a degree that is called the Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, MBBS. That is the qualification that makes someone to be qualified as a doctor and that will be able to practice in Nigeria. There's also the Bachelor of Dentistry and Bachelor of Optometry. All these are players in the health field, but for you to be a doctor, you say the Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery.
All right, Doctor, now, if you can tell us what potential risks or complications could arise from receiving medical advice or treatment from someone without proper medical training or qualifications, especially in a specialized field like healthcare?
Healthcare is a very critical field where every decision you take impacts on the life of the recipients. When you have someone who is not qualified to practice medicine, practicing, he is called a quack. And a quack has a lot of complications in the society. In terms of the individual he attends to, he is a risk. He is a hazard to that individual because he may cause harm. Medicine is something that is taught in theory and in practice as an apprenticeship. Someone who has no knowledge of it will not know what side effects the medication is going to have on the individual. Even the people who are taught to know what dose of a medication to be given, what interventions to carry out for different conditions they see, and what complications the individual they see who is in position to have. Also, you are also trained what signs to see to know when to refer a patient to a particular specialist or not. These individuals who have no knowledge are there to take whatever risk is available, especially risking the life of the individuals they attend to. These are the challenges we have when a quack attends to people. And it's a lot happening we see in our health system today, where you see different complications arising from activities of quacks landing in the hospital at the end of the day. And that is why the anti-quackery battle has become imperative, because we also have doctors leaving the system because of brain drain. When quacks now come in to fill this space, they increase the risk the individuals who are remaining have in the system, because the probability of you being attended to by a quack becomes higher. Example is this: when a quack goes to the extent of applying in a government hospital, a government facility, someone who does not have any medical training at all, you think some of these people are limited to practicing in rural areas, which we are still battling with. But
Okay,
to have them come into government facilities in urban area, it tells a lot.
Well, Doctor, it's no doubt that, quackery is actually a big issue in Nigeria. But in what ways will the presence of medical quackery undermine the efforts of legitimate healthcare providers and institutions in the business? Because we are aware that, they've actually done more harm than good.
Yes, quackery dampens the confidence of the patients and the society on the quality of healthcare service they have. Most of the times we hear instances of irresponsible medical practices suspicious medical activities, and you assume when they complain, they say it's a doctor that carried it out. One of the common ones we had recently from Nigerian Medical Association, there was a case of a doctor who carries out cesarean sections in a particular rural area in Rivers State and goes on to sell the babies or kill the patients in the line of doing a normal cesarean section. The man, when arrested or apprehended, was tagged a doctor already. It took the Nigerian Medical Association to investigate this case up to Igruta and Isiokpo, where he practices, and engage and see that this particular individual does not have medical practicing license. He's not trained to be a medical doctor, but he has already been tagged a doctor. And when he's carrying out all these nefarious activities, the stain rubs on the medical profession. It rubs on the legitimate medical doctors that when they label you, they assume you are incompetent, you are someone that does all manner of criminal activities, because the criminals parade themselves as doctors. That alone affects the quality of trust you have from your patient. Because when you want to recommend something to your patient, you can imagine when you want to carry out a procedure on your patient is suspicious
all right,
of you.
so doctor, but then considering the falsified documents used by this impersonator, what measures can be implemented to strengthen the verification process, and what steps can regulatory bodies such as the NMA take to enhance surveillance and enforcement efforts against medical quackery in Nigeria?
The regulatory body for medical practice in Nigeria is called the Nigeria Medical and Dental Council. That is one of the certificates that was forged by this individual. The MDCN is one of the gatekeepers we have, that when you are trained, one, you have a registration, a temporary registration that later becomes a permanent registration, which is subject to renewal every year. This one is one of the medical undergoes refresher courses to sharpen his skill. The other one we have, like the individual came to, whenever you have a medical doctor or a supposed medical doctor come to a facility, he's supposed to tender his qualifications, which should be verified by the employing institution, be it private or government facility. Another one is for Nigerian Medical Association. Every doctor is supposed to have the Nigerian Medical Association ID card and stamp. These are measures that are put in place.
Well, Doctor, sadly, we'd actually have to wrap up here, but thank you so much for joining me and speaking on this. All right, away from that story, carbonated drink prices are set to skyrocket in Lagos State as the Health Commissioner hinted that it might impose an increase in sugar-sweetened beverages to reduce the risks of non-communicable diseases. Carbonated beverage consumption has been linked with diabetes, hypertension, and kidney stones, all risk factors for chronic kidney disease. News Central's Adeshawa Odushoga reports.
For just 350 naira, you can get this in the market. It's almost like a staple. It's available everywhere. Now, it's not the price or the temperature that's the problem. Doctors are saying that a bottle of this can put you at a risk of kidney diseases, hypertension, obesity, diabetes, and a host of other things.
The Lagos State government had recently hinted at proposing a pro-health levy on sugar-sweetened beverages to boost public health and lower the rise in non-communicable diseases burden.
It affects the body's system, it affects the gastrointestinal system, our heart health, cardiovascular system, our nervous system, and even reproductive system. And another thing that it contains is phosphoric acid. And this phosphoric acid, according to research, has suggested that high levels of this phosphoric acid that is found in carbonated drinks, it may increase an individual's risk of kidney stones.
Bien increase and to my mamu. Indo bien a lot of no interest in omi lelumi mamu. But no we standing anything about the book won't affect yet yan láti avoid there. Et you understand fan finally yan na ni. But why just gbé nǹkan yẹn affect yet tó gbé nǹkan yẹn pọ̀ why to stop e gan láti máa ṣe jáde.
One of all this soft drink that contains a lot of sugar is not good to our body. But what can we do? Do we have alternative? We don't have alternative. Just we are taking it because that is what is available.
For some people, these sugar-sweetened beverages have become an addiction. And many would ask, what then if not carbonated drinks?
We have water. As funny as it might sound, water is a fantastic alternative to fizzy drink. Cold water, warm water, just drink it. And with time, your body would adjust to the change of this fizzy drink. Another thing that can be taken in place of fizzy drink is our homemade fruit juices. But this also has to be taken in moderation because of the calorie content.
Nigeria is reportedly the fourth highest soft drink consumer in the world. The federal government's remaining choices include raising taxes, which could generate an estimated 729 billion naira in revenue for the health sector, assist Nigerians in kicking addictions, and reduce the country's burden of non-communicable diseases. In Lagos for News Central, Adeshewa Odushoga.
You're still watching News Central now. Coming up after the break, South Africa police arrest suspect behind blue light robberies. We have the details after the break. The news continues in South Africa, where the police have arrested a suspect believed to be a mastermind behind blue light robberies. Now, this comes after he was found with blue lights, a traffic police uniform, a high-caliber firearm and ammunition, as well as a suspected hijacked motor vehicle. Blue light robberies refer to a tactic in which criminals impersonate police officers by using blue lights to stop motorists on highways and steal from them. National Crime Intelligence shared information about a suspect who had a suspected hijacked motor vehicle and was suspected to be involved in blue light robberies on freeways. In the early hours of Monday morning, the team pounced on the premises of the suspect in Dawn Park, where they found a Volkswagen Polo that was reported to be hijacked in Phokeng, Northwest Province in February this year. Now, the suspect was arrested and charged with possession of unlicensed firearms, possession of hijacked motor vehicle, and possession of ammunition, amongst other charges. Still in South Africa, the South African police used water cannons to disperse demonstrators who were protesting over a lack of service delivery and poor housing conditions in the country. Angry residents in Diepkloof Hostel, an area of the township Soweto in Johannesburg, used tires and small fires in an attempt to barricade main roads. They also threw rocks at police amidst the violent protests. Some of the protesters said no one was taking them seriously as they were hit by water cannons and rubber bullets from the police.
nalento ukuthi makufanele ukuthi umuntu ayethuke kufuneka alinde umunye umuntu isimo samathoyithi isona sesilimaza nje kakhulu uzubuke nje kule South Africa phela sithi khululekile kodwa kusenabantu abasacindezeleke ngalendlela ama hostels ngahle acindezeleke kakhulu
inkinga la thina masikhuluma thina ngomlomo asithathwa serious.
Kenyan authorities have launched a crackdown on people who disrupted President William Ruto's political meetings in the west of the country at the weekend. Now, it followed two incidents where hecklers interrupted President Ruto's rallies in Bomet and Kericho counties. The president, who is in the Rift Valley region, his political stronghold, to launch several projects when his rallies were disrupted as political rivalries pitting local leaders played out. The visibly irritated president said leaders finding such chaos were affecting development projects in the area, terming the disruptions foolish. Interior Minister Kithure Kindiki on Monday directed police to immediately clamp down on the individuals behind the incidents. News Central now returns after the break. Welcome back. As the stench of death lingers in Kfar Aza, kibbutz, an Israeli community near the Gaza Strip, just about 5 kilometers off the buffer zone that separates the territories, its residents say they are still reliving the memories of horrifying attack that killed at least 96 people in that community and 1,400 Israelis across southern Israel. There is now a grave silence in this community, previously home to 750 people. News Central's Bongani Siziba visited this community and gives us this report.
Months after the devastating attacks by Hamas on the 7th of October 2023, I visited the once vibrant kibbutz community in Israel. What I saw was a haunting reminder of the horrors that unfolded here. The community, now deserted, stands as a silent witness to the unspeakable violence that scarred its walls and its people forever. As I walked through the ruins, I could hear the sound of gunfire a few kilometers away. Each echo of the gunfire I heard in the air, each bullet hole I saw on the walls, a stark reality in my mind, and the fear and chaos scars that engraved into every corner. A reminder of what could have gripped this community on the tragic day. Here I met the resident of this community who, out of fear, was not keen to be recorded. She walked me through the desolated streets, greeted by a landscape that resembles a ghost town, a shadow of what once was. On the other side of the same community, I was greeted by the price that was paid. Here I met Hen Kotler, who said these ruins of buildings, burnt houses, and the haunting images of those who lost their lives still lives in her. I saw pain and suffering in her eyes as she narrated what was leashed upon this once thriving place.
On October 7th, my community, 955 people that lives about 3 kilometers from the Gaza border, we had our gates were breached and exploded, and about 300 terrorists, Hamas terrorists, infiltrated and came into the kibbutz, killed that day within 24 hours over 63 members, my neighbors, my best friends, their children, whole families, and in their beds sometimes, and kidnapped 19 people, among them mothers and children. 5 are still hostage in Gaza.
Each house, each picture, here carries the burden of 7 October that she says changed her life and that of the community forever.
We don't really know what's going to be. I think just 5 months passed, but our whole life collapsed. I mean, everything we knew, the way we lived here as a community, as a very vibrant, strong community, is gone. And mainly we have 5 people, among them 4 young adults that I know them since the day they were born, and their mothers are good friends of mine, that are still hostage in Gaza. So we don't even think about, rebuilding or recovering until they're not back.
Hen is not alone. Amidst these ruins, there is a lone and silent garden, in a realm of desolation, waiting with hope for a master who'll never return.
It's a disaster for the humankind because this is the benchmark for terror. The next terror attack will be even worse. It's like having a horror film on the 1970 and horror film today. Horror film in 1970 looks like, a walk in the park. So today, this is the benchmark of terror. And what you see while you walk around my kibbutz is the new playbook of terror. And it will happen. It will happen somewhere. It will happen to somebody. I don't know where and when. And this is what is so difficult for me.
As I left this community that now echoes with silence, I was reminded by the blue and white flag that flew in every corner that the spirit of those who lived and died here lives on in the hearts of those who remember. And for those who survived, they forge ahead, carrying the burden of their past, bound together by the shared tragedy that forever changed the landscapes of their lives. From the Gaza border in Israel Kibbutzi community, for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
Thank you, Bongani, for that report. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that 87 people have been feared kidnapped in fresh attack on Kaduna community. We also told you that South Africa police have arrested suspects behind blue light robberies. We also told you that Kenyan authorities are set to go tough on people who disrupt President Ruto's rally. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.